I feel a little overdressed. Everybody's like in their t-shirts, but I kind of didn't know how formal it was, so I was like, I'll throw on a sweater vest. It makes me just a little bit, right? My name is Kevin Washington. You can see it on the board, obviously. I'm in the clinical laboratory sciences program in the School of Health Professions. I've got my crew backing me up, just in case. They got their own t-shirts on for some reason, but so I started here. This is my first year doing this. I started in the fall, and I've come a long, long way to get to this point. Where to start? Originally, I'm from Hawaii. I'm not from here. My parents were military, but I grew up in paradise, one of the greatest places in the world, right? Except I wasn't rich, so it wasn't all that great, because after a while, once you've seen one beach, you've seen them all. And, every time relatives would come into town, they would be like, oh, we want to go see the Polynesian Cultural Center. Oh, we want to go to the Bellows Beach. And it's like, oh, not again. It's kind of like here now that we live here, whenever somebody comes in, want to go to the Alamo, and you're like, oh. And when you're walking around, you're looking at everybody at the Alamo, and they're looking, oh, look at David Crockett sat here. And you're thinking, oh, yes, can we move along? That's how it kind of was for us, but in Hawaii, there's a sort of a dichotomous situation going on. You have a lot of beautiful splendor and tourism, but on the other side of that, you have a lot of poverty. Most people don't realize that in a lot of areas in Hawaii, it's like a third world country. I had friends who, no kidding, their parents worked 2 jobs at fast food restaurants. They'd work all day at McDonald's, and then they would leave and go across the street and work a whole nother shift at Burger King. So when it comes to medicine and health for them, a lot of it was home remedies. I remember for us, we had a lot of colloquial home remedies. Aloe leaves. Whenever I was a kid, we'd scrape our knees, we'd go over to a plant, snap it off, take the sap, rub it on our wound, we were fine. Jellyfish. Anybody had experience with jellyfish here? Anybody know what to do if you get stung by jellyfish? Everybody's got their own thing. Everybody. Crab boil. Put crab oil on it. Why do you have crab oil at the beach? Don't know, but everybody was bringing it. Baking soda. You use baking soda. Some people know you pee on it. And no kidding. And it turns out, like back then, we didn't know why this stuff works. But then as I got older and I started getting into sciences, and I started experimenting around and looking at things, because I love looking up facts. That's my big thing. They know. And it turns out that the reason why is because jellyfish stings are mostly polypeptides and proteins. So when you're changing, you're denaturing them by using, because urine's about an average 6 pH. So it's acidic, and you're denaturing those proteins. Now, most people don't know that, but we know that. And that's the basis that I think of clinical laboratory sciences. We get to know the coolest stuff because we have to know the coolest stuff. I like learning those little tidbits of information. Now, how I got here from Hawaii is a different story. When my parents decided they were done with their military career, and I was starting to get older, my parents started to think, well, what if he wants to stop being a bad kid and go to college someday? And so that was a consideration. Where would I go? Because to do anything, I could either go to the University of Hawaii, and unless you're majoring in marine biology or surfing, your options get real limited real fast. So for me to go to college, they were going to have to come mainland side. And so being from Texas, we have some family here. My parents decided to move back. So I came here around my senior year of high school and went to Taft. And that was a jarring, another Raider in the house. Jarring experience. Because I didn't know anybody. And your senior year is not exactly the time to start trying to make new friends. So I felt like I was on like a CW show when I was growing up. He's the new guy. He's brooding. He's so cool. But I got here and I graduated. And then I didn't go to college right away. What I did was I decided to go live life. So I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm leaving. I'm taking my wolf dog and I'm going out. into the nature, and I'm going to learn some stuff. And so I went out and I did a lot of different things. I was a bouncer for a while, for clubs. That was fun. It wasn't Roadhouse. It's more like, sir, I'm going to ask you to leave. Well, okay. All right. Have a nice night. Never had any of that really cool stuff going on. But after that, I decided, I'm going to move in with some friends. We're going to do this whole thing where we have like this big communal house full of like 40 people. And then I left with a whole bunch of debt. So I decided to become a truck driver. So I went out and I did over-the-road driving. And I can honestly say I have been to all the capitals of the United States of America, even Alaska. And of course, I came from Hawaii, so I was already there. After that, I came back here and I started to work for banks because I got into IT, which back then you could go into IT without any type of degree. Did you know anything about computers? Yes. Do you have experience with Windows? Yes. All right, welcome to the job. So I did that, and I'm actually still doing that. I'll get into that in just a moment. But once I had gotten here and I'd done that for a few years, I worked for a couple of banks. I got into investigations, digital investigations. Fun stuff, but a lot of hours staring at a screen. But after a while, I started thinking, is this what I really want to do? Because I would look at all the people that I worked underneath, and they would come in every day, big beards, suspenders. How's it going today? And I'm like, oh, not the life for me. I don't want that. I want something different. So I started looking into what else I can do. So I went back to school. I started going back to school, and I went to A&M. And originally, I was going to major in, at the time, I think it was archaeology, because I started skipping around to different degrees. So I would look at one thing, I'd look at another thing. I would take a class in geology, and then I would become a geologist. And after a while, they were looking at my credits and going, just pick a degree and leave. Well, along the way, I took a microbiology course, and it fascinated me. This whole little micro world of battles and wars going on, whole organisms and systems fighting it out for survival. It was really cool stuff. So I started really looking into that, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a biologist. Now, initially, though, I didn't go with microbiology, even though that's what inspired me. I started as a field biologist. I wanted to study the Crocuta crocuta. Anybody know what that is? Yeah, Pokemon? Close enough, but my studies in that are extensive. I'm going to be giving a dissertation on that a little bit later. But no, it's the spotted hyena. It's my favorite animal. I don't know why. I don't know where I picked this up, it's like I've never seen a hyena in my life up close. But somewhere along the way, I was like, that's the one. That's my spirit animal. So I started taking biology classes. And again, I came into more and more clinical applications because they make you take a range of stuff, right? They don't just say, all right, you want to be a biologist? Here's a Jeep. Here's a camera. Go out there and study. So along the way, I started thinking, well, this is fun. But then I started realizing I like teaching it too. So I started going to A&M at about 2010. And from that point on, to sort of shorten things up, I got my first degree in biology, I got a second degree in biology, and then I got a third degree in education. And I decided to do high school teaching, freshman biology. Yeah, I'm here now. Took me 1 year to realize that I want to do something else in my life. So I started looking at what else can I do. And I had a friend who actually was in the health professions. And she's like, oh, I'm doing this MLS thing. And I'm like, what's it like? And she's like, super cool. So I started looking into it because I'm thinking, that's what I want to do. Working in a lab, imagine myself with my cow pow on one desk and, looking through microscopes. People going, what are you looking at? The world. So when I started looking into it, but then I realized you needed certifications. So I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get certified for this? Well, I'll have to go to a different school. Well, along the way, I started looking into different types of schools for certification for MLS, and I realized there's a whole health professions field out there. And so once I came across UT Health Science Center, I started looking at the MLS program here, and I realized they had a master's program. I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into the master's. Now, I didn't choose any of the others. Health professions is a large field here. There's about 6 different disciplines, I would call them. You've got your respiratory therapists. Anybody here from respiratory therapy? Woo! You've got your occupational therapy, your PA school, like the one PA person. You've got your emergency services, and then you've got us, the CLS. And physical therapy? I thought oh, there you go. Okay. I thought I said that, but I guess not, because they're like waiting. They're like, when's it coming? So, the things that bring us to these points in life, because there is one thing I forgot to tell you. Along the way, when I really wanted to decide how I wanted to finish out my education, around 2011, me and my dad, my dad retired, and he started hanging around the house a lot. And then he started hanging around the house a lot. And part of that was because my dad suddenly started to come down with some sort of illness. And we didn't quite know what it was. So I would start taking him to dialysis. It happened so fast. Within 2 months, he was going to dialysis. So I would go to school, I would take him to dialysis, I would come home, I would study, and then I would go to work. When I came back one day from school, I was talking to my dad. He had just come back from the hospital. We were sitting there, and he's like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going to go sleep is what I'm going to go do. So I went upstairs, and I think I'd been asleep for about 10 minutes when my mother comes running upstairs, and she's frantic. She's like, please come downstairs. I think your father's gone. So I go running downstairs. I don't know what to do. The alarm is going off, and it was such a surreal moment because everything seemed to happen in slow motion. I remember getting my father onto the ground and starting CPR. I remember telling my mother to turn off the house alarm and to call 911, which she couldn't do because she was so shaken at the time. So I remember having to try and dial 911 on my phone and return to doing CPR on my father. I remember when the EMTs arrived, I remember going to the hospital. And then I remember going to chemistry class to take a test because I had a test and I wasn't going to fail it. So I went and I took the test. The instructor was shocked to see me there because he'd heard through a friend of mine that something had happened to my father. I took that test and my father died the next day. Now the problem with that for us was that the whole time, it was probably about maybe 4 months that he went from being a strong, healthy individual to being gone. And for me, that impacted me. And I think that's when I really made that change from just a biologist to really wanting to do something in health professions. Because we never really found out an answer. We never really understood why. We never got told. Nobody could explain it to us. For me, I would never want to see anyone else ever go through a situation like that again. People have a fundamental right to be helped. They need people who are experts, people who have the ability, the talent, and the drive to be able to do something to help them. So I came here, and I'm still here. William Osler, who founded the Johns Hopkins Hospital, once said that medicine is a science of probability and an art of possibility. I think that's what he said. It may have been something slightly different. But the point being, it was very, very inspirational. We are really connected here in a different way, and that's why I think things like this are good for us. Because we need to see the other faces and know that it's not just the people in your class. There's a whole network of individuals out here. There's a whole network of us working together to accomplish a common goal, which is to progress mankind in the arts of health. Every one of us is kind of like, I like to think of us like dots. You know, you've got your medical school, that's a dot. You've got your doctors and your dentists, those are more dots. You got your CLS, you got your therapists, you got your PA schools, they're dots. And all these little dots are like little lights shining in the darkness. Now, a single light in a cavern, a single little candle, may not be much in the dark. But when you take a single light and you multiply it with multiple lights, you end up with, you can beat back the darkness. You start whole galaxies, right? When you think about it, galaxies are little points of light. Each one of them is a point of light. And then they combine. Every star within that galaxy combines to make more light. You got suns, you got planets, and astronomy is pretty cool, but that's a whole nother topic. We together can accomplish great things. We as individuals, we can be strong. But we as united individuals, connected to one another, supporting one another, we can accomplish much more. We can stand on shoulders of giants and then be lifted even further by giants coming along behind us. We can be better. We can be candles in the dark. I will leave you with this idea. Look out here today at every person that you see. Find somebody in your class, in your school. Find somebody at one of these tables. Find this person, introduce yourself, and make them your nemesis. Having a nemesis will drive you in ways, no, I'm just kidding. But in seriousness, find someone, because together we can make things so much better for people. We can make things so much better for ourselves. Thank you.